The air in this reclaimed substation tastes like ozone and stale coffee, a faint hum from the war surplus transmitter vibrating through the concrete floor. Dust motes dance in the single neon tube, casting a sickly green glow on hand-labeled vinyl records stacked next to a console patched with kente tape and brass. Outside, the city breathes, a rhythm section moving to its own ancient beat.
Black Star Pirate Radio.
Saragucucho reports overcast skies tonight, a heavy 32 degrees Celsius, feeling closer to 36 degrees Celsius, with a steady SE wind at 9 kilometers per hour. The signal holds. The transmitter pops once, adjusts, holds, ozone drift, the signal is still here. Our first vector points to Labour MP Ed Husick, who suffered fractures and a concussion after a Sydney motorway car crash this week. The incident occurred at Dean Park around 6:20 p.m. Tuesday, involving his vehicle, a truck, and another car, exposing the raw vulnerability of everyday transit.
This collision on the M7 motorway impacts not just MP Husick's immediate health, necessitating a short period of leave, but also highlights the structural risks faced by over 1.7 million daily commuters in Greater Sydney. A smallest testable move for improving civic architecture would be for Transport François to initiate a transparent audit of M7 safety barriers and signage, alongside a public discussion on mandating advanced driver assistance systems in all new heavy vehicles. The chosen next move. New South Wales Parliament could fast-track a bill requiring all commercial transport operators on major motorways to implement real-time telematics for fatigue monitoring, starting with a pilot program on the M7 within 6 months.
The myth of the indestructible commuter is shattered when even a public figure faces such raw precarity. This incident echoes countless stories on the Pacific Highway, where families grapple with the brutal lineage of unsafe infrastructure. Who carries this next? Every local council and state transport authority, tasked with rebuilding trust in the civic architecture of our roads, particularly for the 500,000 commercial vehicle drivers.
Designing for resilience means more than just patching up after a crash. We could re-architect intersections with intelligent traffic flow systems, using real-time data to prevent pile-ups before they form. Or consider a gamified civic platform where citizens report road hazards with immediate response incentives, creating a distributed network of urban architects. The playable next step is to fund a smart M7 corridor pilot, integrating AI-driven monitoring and emergency response drones across 50 kilometers of highway.
Patching in a caller, the devil's advocate. You're on the signal.
So a politician gets hurt, and suddenly we're talking about civic design. What's the real cost beyond the headlines when the rest of us crash every day without this kind of attention? Who pays for these smart corridors?
A sharp question cutting through the haze. The cost of neglect is shared, but the attention can illuminate systemic flaws. From Sydney, we pivot to a different kind of architecture of life. The Toronto Zoo announces the birth of a female pygmy hippo calf, Kindia's third, stirring debate on provenance and dignity in conservation. This 20-year-old mother gave birth after 1.5 hours of active labour last Sunday morning, beginning around 8:15 a.m.
This new calf is a significant addition, boosting the global population of this endangered species, with less than 2,500 remaining in the wild, impacting the genetic diversity crucial for its survival. A smallest testable move for enhancing species autonomy would be for the Toronto Zoo to dedicate a substantial portion of its annual fundraising, say 15%, to direct anti-poaching and habitat restoration efforts within Liberia's Sapo National Park. The chosen next move for the zoo could be to launch a Wild Provenance Pledge campaign, linking every captive birth directly to a specific, measurable investment in situ conservation, ensuring dignity by safeguarding their natural home with a target of $500,000 annually.
The hippo's survival hinges on human intervention, presenting a stark choice: controlled survival in a constructed habitat versus the perilous freedom of its ancestral lands. This lineage, now largely managed by human hands, asks who truly holds the dignity of its future within a constructed architecture. It's a cultural mirror reflecting our capacity for architectural signal, or toxic residue, carried next by global conservation bodies like the IUCN and ethical tourism initiatives in West Africa.
We're building architectures around life, but are they architectures of consent? Instead of solely expanding captive breeding, we could design fully immersive, augmented reality experiences for zoo visitors, enabling them to interact with pygmy hippos in virtual West African rainforests, with all ticket proceeds funding actual habitat preservation. This bend in the system translates the tension into a playable next step. Develop a pilot AR conservation exhibit to gauge public engagement and direct funds towards Sapo National Park's ecological integrity, aiming for 100,000 virtual visitors in its first year.
There's a caller on the line.
With all due respect, what does a baby hippo in a zoo have to do with my autonomy? It feels like a stretch, a distraction from real-world costs. Who really benefits from this costly conservation, and at what price?
That's the core challenge, caller. The hippo's plight, like the MP's crash, forces us to examine the architectures we build around all life. Do these structures genuinely sustain and respect intrinsic worth, or merely contain? The sovereign architect frames this. How do we ensure dignity, even for a species, when we control the terms of existence? Switching frequencies, next signal, NATO to urgently get air defenses for Ukraine. Our final signal, NATO pledges to urgently get air defenses for Ukraine, as President Zelensky warns of a surge in Russian missile production, escalating the architectural challenge of national security.
This pledge directly responds to Ukraine's urgent need for systems like the Patriot, crucial against Russia's reported 200 missile production capacity per month, impacting millions of civilians and vital infrastructure. A smallest testable move for NATO would be a rapid deployment of 2 additional Patriot batteries from Germany to key Ukrainian cities within 30 days. The chosen next move, NATO members, led by Germany and the US, establish a joint Sky Shield Acceleration Fund of €5 billion, specifically to procure and deliver 10 advanced air defense systems, including IRIS-T SLM and NASAMS, to Ukraine by the end of Q3 2024, ensuring a more resilient civic architecture against aerial threats.
The ancient myth of the impenetrable fortress faces modern missile reality, revealing a costly lineage of defense that demands constant reevaluation. The tension isn't just about hardware, it's about the psychological architecture of a nation under siege, and who carries the weight of its continued defiance. This burden is carried by every Ukrainian citizen enduring daily strikes and by the European Union's long-term strategic defense planning, impacting over 44 million Ukrainians directly.
Instead of a purely kinetic defense, we could implement a digital dome strategy, a network of AI-powered sensor arrays and counter-drone systems integrated across civilian infrastructure to create a multi-layered decentralized defense grid. This bends the rules of traditional warfare, translating tension into a playable next step. Pilot a civilian Skywatch program in 3 Ukrainian cities, integrating commercial drone detection tech with community alert systems, effectively crowdsourcing air defense intelligence for early threat detection.
We've got someone. Patching in a caller. Go ahead.
So, more billions for air defense. What's the end game here? Who's paying for this endless arms race? And what's the actual benefit for global stability, rather than just prolonging conflict?
The cost, caller, is undeniably immense, and the benefit is constantly under scrutiny. But the core analysis, through the sovereign architect frame, asks, how do we build architectures of security that favor consent, provenance, and dignity, not just for a nation, but for its people? Turning confusion into actionable vectors means discerning if these urgent measures are structural necessities or simply toxic residue of a broken system.
Play the next move.
Black Star Pirate Radio.
Continue the signal at TogeeVision.com. Tune in Sparks and Stories, Gig Passport.